Well, Jenny, I am so excited to talk to you today and have you on the podcast. We were just saying right before we started how we kind of went down the rabbit hole of each other's social media, and we have so much in common and so many things to talk about. And I was saying that I'm not a huge consumer of social media content, believe it or not, but I will be going to your social media on a daily basis. I will tell you that.
I appreciate that. It's kind of a cornucopia smorgasbord of everything that kind of started with design that rolls into parenting and then flattering swimwear for moms. So it's everything. Yeah.
I love it.
I was going to be doing that, but here we are.
And isn't that like the crazy road that I feel like few people, and more, but few people are open to kind of where the road leads them, right? And I feel like you've really been open to that. So before I was just going to say, I want to know the story. Like, you have such this colorful, amazing path to where you are now. And I kind of want to go back, if you would, and like, where did it all start? Because you're this huge personality on social. You've got all of these amazing, parts of that business that you're contracted with and working with. And just start back, like, how did this all come to be?
It started with, honestly, me being a mother to 7 children. And I started on Instagram to spy on my teenage daughter because she just started getting into high school. And I thought, well, I have to get on here, but then I have to look like I'm doing something other than spying on her, as any good parent would do. And so I just started, we had just moved to Nashville at the time from Florida. My husband had just retired from Major League Baseball. And I started renovating a house in Nashville. And that got the attention of a realtor who thought, oh, Property Brothers would love to maybe shoot this as a dream home. And then I'm a publicist by trade, and I just started documenting things, and it just kind of grew and grew. And it really started when I had 4,000 followers, and I reached out to Home Goods and said, hey, I'm doing the hair and makeup artist of Carrie Underwood. I'm just helping her design. I was just doing design on the side as something to do, even though my degrees were in PR and education, but I just, was filling the time as a stay-at-home mom. And they said, well,
because you have so much time as a stay-at-home mom.
I just wanted to do something for myself that I enjoy, just get out of like my yoga pants for a brief moment. And I was just doing small, like helping friends on the side. And Home Goods said, well, we'd love you to be our spokesperson. And then that just kind of developed. And it was a lot of me asking for things rather than waiting for them to fall, I feel like. But at that,
I love that. I think that is so important, what you just said, for people that are trying to build brands or businesses or social media followings, that you really have to go out there and get it and ask.
Yes.
And not just wait.
I feel like there is opportunity in work. Like I was working, I was doing the hustle. And I think, going further back, at one point, I was a single mom at 27 years old with 2 toddlers. I started working kind of 3 jobs, like I was teaching school, and then I was teaching fitness classes, and I was doing all of these different things, but I always kind of worked for what I had or what I wanted. And so I think in turn, I was never afraid to ask for something in terms of moving myself or my family forward, because I thought, well, the worst that's going to happen is I'm going to remain in the same place. So if you never step forward, you will always remain stuck. So I think that was a big part of just my personality, and even getting over kind of the single mom hump, trying a new career, asking for things that I thought I had no business asking for. And so I think maybe having 7 children, you lose a sense of modesty a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I just was like, well, I'm just going to go for it, because the only thing they can do is tell me no. And I many times, if you hear no, you're asking the wrong person. So I
love that. I love really that so much.
I pride myself on sort of telling people, like, just ask for what you want. Like, where are we in life where we have to wait for someone to give us something,
Right. Yeah. So, and I think underneath that, though, there's a belief thing, right? Because I think so often people are afraid to ask because of their insecurities, or they don't feel worthy, or they don't feel good enough. Right. And I think what we have to realize is, some of the greats that we see, or the people that we want to emulate, the people that we kind of want to do what they're doing, they're not necessarily any better, right? They just asked, they just got in the right conversations and in the right rooms. And so therefore they're kind of out there doing it more.
Right. And I think the worst that can the worst that can happen is you ask for something, really, for the most part, is you might, like, your pride might take a little bit of a hit. It might be a little embarrassing for a moment, but you know what? And then we recover,
Yeah.
like, who
Yeah.
hasn't been embarrassed? Who hasn't taken a knock against their pride at one point in their life? And so I feel like life is just kind of that ebb and flow of,
Yeah.
we have opportunities, we lose some, we have them, we lose them. And so I think, I remember when I got divorced, my mother gave me this little art piece, and it said, when the wind changes, we just adjust our sails. And so
Yes.
I'm a big fan of just pivoting. Like, my whole adult life, I was thinking today, I'm just pivoting. I'm just constantly pivoting.
Yeah. And I love that you said 45, right? Like 45 is kind of when this new chapter just
Right.
literally happened for you, came into your lap, and you ran with it. So tell me, first of all, 7 kids, how old are they?
So I have 20, one's almost 19, and then we have 12, 10, 9, 7, and 5. So
Wow.
kindergarten to a junior in college. First
Wow.
marriage, second marriage, an adoption. And so it's just, I lost a child too, and we can talk about that. But I feel like when that happened, I was just so grateful for anything that came my way. And I think in losing, I had a stillborn daughter. I think in losing her, it made me a better mother, and made me a better adoptive mother in a way, because I knew what it was like to lose and feel that loss, and to walk out of a hospital without your baby. And so then when we adopted, I know we're
When
jumping
you
all
had,
over.
well, that stillborn, such a hard road. Where
Yes.
was that in, like,
She would have been number 5.
Okay.
So she was the third of my husband now. She was our third
Right.
daughter.
My mom always says, because my dad was married twice, so she always calls them first set, second set.
Yes, we have the bigs and the littles. We call them the
Yes,
bigs and
the
the
bigs
littles.
and
So
the
she
littles.
would have been the third of the littles. And I lost her midway through the second trimester. Nobody knew, but gratefully, I just one day said I just wanted to go through an elective sonogram. How you could just pay $100. And I just wanted to check on her. I didn't really feel a sense of anything wrong. And I immediately saw that she had no heartbeat on there. But what was interesting, and it's kind of a blessing in disguise, it had just happened, because the blood was still flowing through her body, and they didn't know how to call it, because they said they brought in other doctors, and they said, this is very unusual to see her body temperature still warm, but no heart and no heartbeat. And so they said, we can wait 24 hours. And of course, like any desperate mother, I was just like, yes, let's just wait, maybe. And so I went back the next day, and she was gone. And then I had to deliver her in 26 hours of labor. And it was just, it was
horrific.
awful. But and I say this often, that I never say to people who's lost children, well, there's a reason for it, or they're in a better place. Because I think that's a very harsh statement to say to any mom, like, oh, well, there's a reason your child died. I like to say, I have found purpose in my pain.
Yes.
Because
it can make you better. Yeah.
Yes. Like, it's not, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I don't feel like there is a good reason for any mother to lose a child. Like, there's just not a good reason for it. There's just that the reasoning part is out the window for any parent who is grieving. But what I do find is that, after I lost her, I became involved in organizations that supported single women who had babies or were leaving domestic violence shelters. And I created a walk in her memory where we raised funds for a local ministry that housed women who wanted to keep their babies but had no support. So through that, it gave me a purpose.
And that's everything, that when you find that purpose, that's such the path to healing, right? Yes. I had a miscarriage, and we had tried forever and ever and ever and ever and ever to have a third. And that's a hard road.
Yes.
And, the pain is, you can't even articulate the pain that comes with losing a child. But it wasn't until I had that light bulb moment of, what I wanted more than anything with, having more children, because I thought we were going to have more and then we couldn't have any, was just, I wanted that intimate relationship. I wanted that love. I wanted that
Right.
bond. I grew up in a house of 6 siblings. And so I kind of wanted to like duplicate that.
Yeah.
And what I
Right.
realized was I just have 2, but I can have that with the 2, and I
Yeah.
can lean into that, and I can create that
Right.
with them. And just like you said, it's made me such a better mother. Yeah.
Yes. And I,
Yeah.
and I, I think when you let go of what you thought you should
Hmm.
have, would have had, it kind
Yes.
of redirects you to center yourself into really leaning into what is in front of you with your own
Yes.
children, with what your passions are. And
Hmm.
oddly, when I got pregnant the next year, she was due on the day that Elizabeth passed away.
Wow.
So I think, you know, if I had not lost her, I wouldn't have had the other 2.
Right.
I
Right.
probably would not have adopted.
Yeah.
A lot, we know that 10 other adoptions have come from me sharing our story.
Wow.
So it's just one of those things where it's like there was a purpose in that
Yeah.
pain. And so
Yes.
I think of her often, not like I wear necklaces in her honor and all of those kinds of things, but
Yeah.
I think and my best friend actually just lost her daughter in a tragic situation at LSU, and
Oh,
she's finding healing in creating a foundation for her.
right.
And so
Right.
I'm supporting her and her grief by supporting the foundation. And I think in all of this loss that all of these women experience, especially in terms of either divorce, losing a child,
Mhm.
spending weekends away, and all of those kinds of things, I think it's so important for women to kind of regroup and center and find a purpose either through the loss
Yeah.
or a new, something that kind of sparks inside something new that they
Yeah.
couldn't have done before,
Right.
or so it's
Yeah.
just, it's that pivot.
Yeah. It's that pivot that you're getting to that place of, like you said, what's in front of you and what you have the time and possibly the space to create that
Right.
this wouldn't be if it wasn't for that. And so it's
Correct.
not that you're grateful for the tragedy, you're
Correct.
grateful for what has come after and what you've created and what you've been able to do. Yeah.
Right. And I think the mindset needs to like kind of shift, and that happens in grieving. I think where you
Yeah.
get to that, those stages where you're sad and
Right.
then you're angry and then all of these different things. And I think that comes with that, where you have to be at peace with what has happened. And
Hmm.
you have to step forward for yourself,
Right.
for your family, for all of that. I remember my dad, I was crying on the floor and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. This is when I was a single mom. And my dad
Yeah.
said, you don't have a choice. Like,
Yeah.
like your family doesn't have anybody but you. So you just take it one
Mm.
step at a time, baby steps, you just work your way out. And I just remember like that, even though it was like this tough love from my dad, who wasn't
Yeah.
a super emotional guy, but he always has solutions.
Yeah.
It resonated with me as like, you're right. I don't have a choice right now. Like
Right.
I don't have a choice but to move forward. So I think that kind of helps getting unstuck.
Yeah. Yeah. I always talk about, sometimes it's just the next right thing,
Right.
and that
Yes.
could be starting a foundation or going to take a shower. Like
Right.
it can be
Right.
both ends
It's
of the
whatever it
spectrum.
is. Right. You don't
Yeah.
have a choice. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So you were single mom, two toddlers, and
Toddlers at
then
the time.
wow, gosh, that I can't
Yes.
even fathom. I look back at that phase of my life when I was married. I mean, I am married, but even with a husband that was very involved, the hardest. It's
Oh,
the
it's the
hardest
hardest.
season.
And I was still in my 20s. And so like I knew I wanted to be married and again, and I remember a man told me, well, you would be a no-brainer if you didn't have kids. And so it's
Oh,
constant knocks against you that every
yeah.
single mom can feel and know
Yes.
and things like that. And so, I met my husband and fortunately he was okay with the kids, but again, it was new to him. He was
Yeah.
younger than me and it was, there was a lot of kind of touch and go there in the beginning as we
Yeah.
sorted it out. But, now we've been married like 13 years. So,
Yeah.
so we're good. But yeah, I was a single mother. And then I had another career change where I ended up being a woman working in sports where people told me, this probably isn't going to happen for you. And it did. And I was thinking today of all the things that people told me you won't be able to do, like you
Mm.
won't be able to pivot from teaching to sports. You won't be able to find a man who will accept you and your toddlers. You won't be able to have another child, or I've had 5 C-sections. You won't be able to do this. And I was thinking today of all of the things in my adult life really have been almost like, yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. And
that
so
probably lights your fire a little bit. So
it
don't
does,
dare
because
tell you that you can't do something.
right, right. And I think what has happened is it's kind of been kind of nice for I have 5 daughters, and they see mom doing all the things. And my college daughter is kind of doing the same thing. And I got my, my boating license, and I bought a boat, and my husband's
Oh my gosh.
Western Pennsylvania. He doesn't know how to boat. So it's me driving the boat and out of that, but out of that, like now I have a pontoon boat company, Manitou Pontoon Boats. Like I'm working with them. I just was listed as like something for like women in power sports, because it's opposite of what you would expect. But it's again, like, yes, I can do that. Boat.
I love that. I love that you're the captain. That is just awesome.
He doesn't have his license at all. So when we go out, I'm the driver. And he is like the first mate, because I grew up in Florida. He knows nothing about boating, but it's odd because when you walk into a marina, they automatically go and speak to your husband.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm over here.
Oh my gosh.
Even when we buy cars, I'm the person who buys the cars and handles all that. And they always look to my husband. I'm like, it's me.
Yeah. Over here. I love that influence for your daughters.
Yes.
I mean, I think that is one of the things I'm so passionate about is I see so many moms holding back on their dreams or their callings or their desire and what they're going to do. And they think that they're being a better mom by kind of just, and some people want to be, the Pinterest mom. And I love having friends like that, because that's not me. So it fills the gap. But there's so many women that have desires, that have a calling, and they don't pursue it because they feel like they are going to take away from their children if they go do that. And I am the mom that's like, no, like that is going to be your greatest gift to your children, for them to be able to witness that, for them to be able to see that,
Yes. Well, and here's just proof in the pudding with that. So when I was a divorced mom, it was in my the kids were in early elementary school. And I think out of mom guilt, I was the homeroom mom. I did every craft, Pinterest, cupcake, homemade, all of that stuff. I did it all for their entire elementary school career. I was that mom for my 2 oldest. And when they were in high school, I remember saying to my daughter, well, it's because I was the homeroom mom. And she said, you were? And I said, what are you talking about? And I said, you don't know it's your homeroom mom? And she said, I remember you going on the field trips, but I don't remember you doing the other stuff. I don't remember that stuff. And a light bulb. And so then I asked my son, who was in high school at the time as well, they're both now in college. I said, do you remember me being the homeroom mom and doing all the cutting at home and all of that stuff? And he said, no, I remember you going to the alligator farm with me. I remember us going to the mud hole. And it was like the light bulb went off. And I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. I will be involved, but not because I feel like this overwhelming sense of guilt that if I don't do it, what will happen to my kids? So my kids I remember you trading in your minivan. I had a minivan at like 25, minivan for a Hummer. And we went to like a mud hole. And I was like, because when I was divorced, it was like I would look for activities to do. And there was a mud hole, a mud bog. Sure, that sounds fun. I was looking at pictures today of me as this like 27-year-old with 2 toddlers in a mud bog, which is really not my, like I'm not a mud bogger kind of girl, but kids remember that. They do not remember the 42 hours I spent making homemade Pinterest cupcakes.
Yes.
And there are women who have time to do that.
Right. And love to do it and want to do it. Absolutely.
I really didn't have the time, but I was trying to make the time out of this sense of guilt of, well, now I'm divorced. And now they're going back and forth between the 2 homes. And now I'm just going to dive all into as much motherhood as I can.
Yeah.
What I think the world wants. But it's like, they didn't want that. They wanted to go play in the mud with their mom. That's what they want.
Yeah.
And so now with 5 children in grades K through 8, I'm like the field trip mom. I brought cupcakes to my son for his birthday, but I can't do all of the extras just because my time is spread so thin that I've just learned to, kind of reevaluate what is meaningful to our family.
Right. I love that. And I remember having the epiphany probably, at that burnout with toddlers.
Yes.
And I remember thinking back to my own upbringing, and my mom was a nurse, but she made sure that she got off at 3:00 so she could pick us up from school. But back then, a generation back, she was ironing my dad's shirts every night and cooking dinner and like
Right.
doing all of the things that a
Yes.
stay-at-home mom would do.
Yes.
And when I looked back on my childhood, I had this epiphany that really my dad gave me kind of what I needed emotionally. And I was like, wait a second. He would come home at 6:00.
Yeah.
He would be super present and intentional because he loved his kids. He loved to play with us.
Yes.
But when I think about it, I'm like, I think that was probably like maybe 20 or 30 minutes. And
Yeah.
then he would sit down and watch the news and read a
Right.
book. And
Yes.
I'm like, that is crazy. That
Yeah.
20 to 30 minute window was what really filled my soul as a child,
Yeah. Yes. And I remember my own dad would take us on Sundays after church and just go somewhere for an hour. We would shoot basketball or whatever it would be to give my mom a little break. But I think he also worked like that, same kind of thing. But he made the time to do extra things.
Yeah.
I think whether it's a mom or a dad or both, or however
Right.
your family structure is, just that time of like letting
Quality
go
time.
of the work, the
Mhm.
chores, whatever, because that's always going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's hard for me though. Like my New Year's resolution was I'm trying to make a hard stop at 3:00
Yeah.
because otherwise it bleeds into everything
Right.
else. And then my kids are, Mom, you're always working. And
Yeah. Yeah.
this is a bizarre business where you don't really get time off because
I
time
know
off
it
is a
never
knock
ends.
against everything. And then it's like you got to start all over and
Yes.
engagement and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I try to, like, I'm going on my son's field trip on Friday. So I worked a little bit longer extra so I could be at the farm.
Right.
Friday.
Right. Yeah. It is a crazy business to be in because I recognize that. And men and women are so different. So, but like when my husband comes home from work, like work is done,
Yes.
and this type of job that we have is never done, but also just being a mom is never done.
No.
It's never done.
No. And I feel like people, I always say this, that I have taught, children with disabilities. I've taught children in inner city schools. I've done PR for nonprofits. This is not the most, I would say, noble work that I've done, unless we're raising money for someone, but it's the most work. It is the most work where I get tendonitis in my hands and those kinds of things. So, there are days where I want to throw my phone into the ocean.
Yes.
But then there's days where I'm grateful that I was able to buy a boat because I'm working so hard and we're having these weekends with my kids. So, it's always one of those kind of that double-edged sword.
Yes.
Where
I totally
got to
agree.
find something that you like, and then you got to figure out how to make it all work.
Yeah. There's always, no matter what you're doing, there's going to be a sliver of it that's not fun,
Right.
and I recognize that even just a couple days ago, I think it was Monday, I just kind of woke up in a fog. We had a birthday weekend. So I was like sugar hangover,
Yeah.
And I was just like, it was such a hard day and kind of like, oh, like it all seemed like a burden.
Yes.
And then this morning I wake up and I'm like, I love my life. And I'm like, okay, so it has nothing to do with what I'm actually doing. It's all the inside game, it's all how I'm viewing it, my perspective on it, and taking care of self. So let's talk about that, because as a working mom of 7 children and a wife, how do you prioritize self-care and what does that look like for you?
So my mom, it's so funny. So here, this is my master calendar and it's right here. And I always say, I never know what I'm doing until I look at that day.
Same.
But my mom gave me a great tip, when I first became a mom, and she said, you have to schedule time for yourself, like you would like a doctor's appointment or parent conference and things like that. So for me, it's exercise. I get up every morning at 4:45, which I know is crazy for many people, but when you go to bed early, it's not that crazy.
Right.
And I work out and I give myself 45 minutes to an hour every morning. And then I come back and I take a shower and I'm pretty much mostly dressed, if not all the way ready to go when I wake my kids up for school.
Yeah, that's
And that way
exactly what I do.
like
I can't imagine. I can't imagine if I didn't do that.
No,
I mean, every once in a blue moon, if I sleep in and I have to wake up to kind of kids and running around, it's like the day is shot.
I agree. And I always say, like, at this point, like if I am not working out by 6:00 a.m., it's kind of done for me, because then life takes over and
Right.
there's no time left for mom. And I
Yeah.
think so many women feel that way. I think the hard
Mhm.
part for many women is getting up so early.
Yeah.
I say, just shut your phone off at night. Like I've never seen Game of Thrones and I've never seen
Right.
Yellowstone
Yeah.
because I don't watch TV at night. I'm trying to sleep.
What time does your head hit the pillow? Do you have like a turn off your cell phone or blue light and like
I
bedtime?
try, so depending on activities, like I
Mhm.
try, my ideal time is everything is off for me at 9.
Mhm.
Lately it's more like 9:30-ish because of, kids getting home late and trying to
Right.
get everybody to bed and all of that. But I would say by 9:30 for sure, my phone is off for
Yeah.
sure. Because I don't, like you said, like I'm not a good mom and I'm not a good
Yeah.
wife if I don't get to exercise or go on a walk or do something for myself, because I get angry a little
Mhm.
bit where
Short
I'm like,
fused. Yeah.
I do all of these things for
Yeah.
everybody else and I can't get 45 minutes, 5 days a week. Like
Yeah.
that is where I think like women have to take that time back. Like
Yes.
the amount of things that you do for your family.
Right.
You deserve 45 minutes, 5
Mhm.
days a week to do something, whether that's paint
Yes.
again, whether that's exercise, whether that is take a cooking class, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I feel like that is where there's something, have you heard of the emotional burden of motherhood?
No. Tell me about
Oh,
it. I want to
this is
hear it.
incredible. This is incredible. There's all kinds of psychological research on it. It is the management of the moms typically are doing all of the work. Like even if you send dad to the store to get the green shirt for the field day or whatever it is, moms are the one managing it. Okay, we have to have
Right.
this on Tuesday. We have to have this. In our house, I do the bills, but it's like, okay, this kid needs this for soccer practice,
Yeah.
or we've got all the schedule, or this is how we're doing vacations. And the moms pretty much are doing the management
Yeah.
of the family emotionally. Even if you
Yes.
tell dad or whomever, I need you to run this errand, by the time they're running the errand to bringing it back, you've already done like 75% of the work because you're carrying the mental load of
Yes.
sure it's done. And so it is a huge, and you can read all kinds of articles on it, but it's societal, it's generational, it's
It's
just
the never ending. It's, we ran into this morning, my husband said, and we were able to make light of it because some mornings, it's like,
oh yeah,
but
yeah.
this morning he goes, you guys are going to have to get school lunch. Mom didn't get groceries. And I was like, oh, I didn't
Right.
get groceries. I was like, I got done work at 10 o'clock last night. You got a massage and we're watching basketball.
Right. Exactly. And that's like, even this morning I said, okay, to my husband, all right, do you know what's happening today? Nope. All right, well, you
Yeah.
have to take this kid out of school because they have to go to the dentist and bring them back. And then this one's got to go here. And it's like, even though like husbands or partners say, well, I did this.
Right. And they are so helpful this day and age, but
Yes.
you're right. It's the
It's called
mental
the
and
emotional burden
emotional.
it's the management of all of that. And it is so
Yes.
exhausting because my mind never stops going.
Never.
I
Yeah.
have to figure out what everybody needs, where sometimes just the task oriented part,
Mhm.
that's easy to complete. If all I
Right.
had to do was run and get a green shirt today, and I checked that off my mental to-do list, well, I would
Yeah.
be a really less stressed mother. But it's not.
Right.
It's not that. It's
Right.
the everyday of what everybody needs. And so I think in acknowledging that and recognizing
Yes.
that's why it is important to take that walk. Like,
Yeah.
give your mind a break from that emotional burden of
Yes.
managing, because it is sometimes like
Yeah.
people don't. I remember someone said, well, I hate moms who complain and blah, blah, blah. It's not complaining. It is
Right.
just stating this is what is happening. It doesn't mean that I love my kids any less.
Right.
Doesn't mean
And it
that I
doesn't mean that we would change it because,
No.
it's like you said, it's the acknowledgement of it and
Yeah.
being aware of it.
Yes.
Therefore, taking the action to allow yourself the break,
Right.
but also knowing, but I still wouldn't change it. I kind of love being in control of everything.
No, it works. I mean,
Yeah.
it works. It works. It's a little stressful sometimes, but it does, work. But I do think it's something that's not talked about enough of how just
Yes.
moms really carry all of that. And then if you're a working mom and you have work obligations,
Yeah.
that causes those meltdowns where it's like, I
Yeah.
just some time, like we all
Yeah.
have them.
Yeah.
I have them less frequently when I exercise every day,
Yes. Absolutely.
because
Is
then
there
I'm
anything else you do in your morning to kind of get centered and grounded?
I try to not check my email
Yes.
until I'm absolutely ready to work, because when
Yeah.
I check it first, then I just have this anxiety of
Yeah.
doing.
That just adds to the mental load is what it
Yes.
does. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I am really just, I always say, like, if I can just get that workout in and get myself dressed before my kids get up,
Mhm.
I'm kind of good to start my day.
Yeah.
And then trying to kind of just work as much as I can when the kids are at school, because now it's a real blessing that they're all in school.
Yeah.
And try to create that hard stop time for myself, where I have to remind myself, I'm someone who likes to clear the to-do list, sort of.
Yes.
I don't want to
Absolutely.
go to bed with a to-do list,
Right.
but I'm getting better at not doing that, because
Yeah.
like we said, it never ends. There's always
It
an
never.
email. There's always someone from California sending an email at 8 p.m. our time, but it's 5 p.m. It's always that stuff. So for me, it's also learning to kind of let go of, it's okay to not answer this email.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is okay to say no, that I can't volunteer at this time because I just need a day off in my calendar.
Right.
So
Right.
it's
And
that.
that, what you just said is so important. I remember this past Christmas, my husband said, because Christmas is just crazy, right? There's
Right,
like
of course.
everything going on. And he said, a couple friends of ours had invited us over, and he said, wait, why aren't we going? And I said, oh, and he said, what are we doing that night? I said, nothing. And he said, well, why aren't we going? And I said, because we're doing something every other night for like 2 weeks straight. And I said, no, because I know that we can't handle that. Right.
No.
Like you sometimes you say no, not because you're obligated, but
Right.
because you know it's just going to be too much.
Right. And I think
Yeah.
like, if every mother knows that feeling. So if
Yeah.
you're hosting something or whatever, I always tell them, just be honest, just say, you know what?
Yeah.
It has been a terrible week. We have had so many activities, whatever.
Yeah.
We need a night off. Every
Right.
mother gets that.
Yes.
Mother
Yes.
does not get, we just need a night off.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's,
Absolutely.
it's not about, I don't want to go to your candle party or whatever it
Right.
may be. It's
Yeah.
just, I emotionally cannot take one more obligation in my
Yes.
time this week.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm curious, work-wise,
Yes.
what does your work life, what does your work day look like? Like what, because you've got, kind of talk about, if you would, what are your obligations work-wise right now? Because you've got several different things going on. You've got a million different things going on work-wise, but how do you kind of structure your day, and what are you spending your time on mainly?
So my overall, like, for lack of a better term, I've become an influencer. I kind of stopped a lot of the side design projects, unless they're for media, because I just didn't have the time. And so I work with a lot of brands, and I do a lot of charity work as well as foundation work. And so what I try to do is, once I get the kids off to school, I come back and I sit at my computer and answer all the emails. And then I'll just start either filming, editing, the whole Reels thing has really eaten up a lot of time.
Yes.
The video and things like that. And so it's a lot of that kind of stuff all day long, where I'm either like, I work a lot with.
Did you ever think this is what your life would look like? I mean, that's what I think sometimes. I'm like, what in the world?
No. And it's funny is, it's like, even the people, when I started this, I mean, this is when, like, I started 4 or 5 years ago. I think, when blog, I thought I was just take pictures in a mirror and find a cute outfit or something. Like, I was looking, that's what Pinterest was back, a couple years ago. And so when I started it, the two men closest to me, my husband and my dad, said, this is a waste of your time. What are you doing? You're spending too much money on this, getting a website, start all this different stuff. And now here I am. Like, it's kind of funny because I've had so many people, especially men in my life, tell me, you're never going to make this. You're never going to do this. This is a waste of your time. And now it's like, I make the Major League Baseball minimum, sort of,
That is amazing.
And it's
that is amazing.
Who would have thought that a mom spying on her daughter and learning to be herself? And, every once in a while I cry on social media, like I've had enough, or there's moments, and I kind of share a lot. My mom says I'm an oversharer, but
and I think that's a generational thing too. It's tougher for that generation, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Even when I had lost my daughter, my mom was like, why are you sharing all of this funeral or everything? And it was just like, because it's healing to me. And then people,
and it's so helpful to others.
And other people like commented, this is what helped me. This is what helped me.
Yeah.
And so where was I? Oh, doing the work. And so it is, it's a lot of just, it's writing, it's emailing. Sometimes I write for Home Goods, or I'll write for their things, or I do work with HGTV or things like that. And so a lot of it then is, what I'm really getting into now is kind of finding solutions for the everyday family, no matter what your budget is. So I'll share, like my own, like it might be a Serena and Lily setup, but I'll find the budget friendly version as well. And
I
so
love that.
a lot of it is that. And like right now I've got a heavy focus on swimwear, and not because I really am trying to make 20 cents off an Amazon bathing suit.
Right.
It's because I feel like every woman should have a suit that they are comfortable in, especially if you have children, that you feel good walking around the pool or the beach in. Like my program is like, I'm a 2, I'm the helper with the highest.
Yes.
I feel like that's
so you're a 2 wing 3.
Yes.
Yes. I see it totally.
Yes. And so I love helping people. And I always say, like, my Instagram is so much more than like vacuums and swimwear, because we have funded 3 cars for people. We've funded thousands and thousands of dollars for children with cancer, or all of these different wonderful, we put a girl in college, like all of these things. I was able to create a scholarship for at UCF for a student. Like all of these things have come from this, me spying on my kid. And I said that this platform was not made for just me. And I 100% believe that, because whether it's the charity things, I have an incredible group community of women on here. And I say that, 98% of my audience is women. I feel like it's women who just have kind of serving hearts. They are people who genuinely care about other people.
Yes.
And through that, like, I'm able to gift the extra vacuums and things to people in need. And I get all these things for free, and I'm able to gift them away. And I see people reselling them on, websites. I got it for free because of people supporting. So I feel it's important to just give it back.
Yeah.
And so I'm very grateful of the community, because I feel like I know them. Like I don't get to everybody's messages, but I'm against, for me, hiring someone to answer my messages.
Oh, yes.
I get to know people.
I can't imagine. I've always been in my DMs. Yeah.
Yes.
So Instagram, is that where you mainly are? TikTok, Instagram? Tell me where.
I'm now on TikTok as well, which is odd, because it's like, when I'm in Target making a campaign for Target, they want a TikTok video as well. And I always am telling people when I'm in there making TikToks with my family, it's like, I'm doing this, I'm getting paid. This is a job for me, because otherwise I feel like people are just staring. What is this woman doing with these 5 children or whatever? But, I do think it's so much of what I do is just the practical everyday stuff.
Yes, it is.
Shapewear. It's the 5 things you need if you're over age 35 for your face. It's just those kind of everyday solutions.
Yes. And I love that we are able to connect with a human, and it's a different experience, right? I mean, 10, 15, 20 years ago, we used to flip through magazines and try to look at articles for, what's the best swimwear, what's the best skincare. And now it's like, I think there's been a shift recently where we're starting to understand how amazing the world of influencers are, and that all the marketing dollars are really going there. But it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I just think it makes so much sense. And it is more of a connection versus, picking up a magazine in the aisle at the grocery store.
And I think if you find the right people to follow, like, for example, I just did this big J. Crew haul, right? I didn't get paid by them. I just did it on my own. And I was very honest with a couple of suits, like, hey, I love the cut of this, but this doesn't have an adjustable strap, so it's falling off. And I don't know if that's what we're looking for as moms with things. And even with a couple, and I was very respectful in my opinion, I was just giving honest opinion. Even Crew was like, we love this. We love what you're doing here. They commented in the messages and things like that. And so I think, not everything is a win on Instagram. Like all these people doing Amazon hauls, like some of my most popular videos on TikTok are the ones where I share all the fails, because I think you see all of these influencers like, this is so great and this is so great. Well, from a video far away, sure. But when you put it on your body, it feels like a dance recital costume. Like, let's just be honest.
Right.
Like,
and that's just it. It's the authenticity, because I have been approached by brands, and I mean, it was like viscerally, I was like, I like this, but
Yeah.
I can't, you're asking me to go on there and say it's the end all be all. It's all I use. It's my favorite thing. And I'm like, I can't do that. And
Right.
so I had to get to a place where I was really made a conscious decision to turn down a lot of money
Yes.
because I just felt so inauthentic. And I think that's what people need to be careful about, is realizing that a lot of what people are promoting out there, they're promoting it because they're getting paid. And so you have to find the people like you
Yeah.
that are honest and
Yeah.
authentic in what they're talking about.
I think too, like if I use some higher end skincare and a brand approaches me for something else, like a brand, like a drugstore brand,
Yeah.
I always ask them, can I try this for like 2 weeks?
Yes.
So I can really give a feedback, because I know not everyone can afford a $120 moisturizer. I
Right.
know. So I love to find solutions to people, but in that, I want brands to respect, listen,
Yes.
I may not use this all the time, but I want to test this for the people who can
Yes.
only afford a $25 moisturizer. And I'm very fortunate that I've been able to find and work with brands who do that. And even like,
Yeah.
I have my high-end La Mer stuff that I
Yeah.
love these days, but then I also have this Olay Regenerist thing that I was
Yeah.
trying that is like, oh, I'm out and I love this because I
Yeah.
tested it. And so
Right.
I think there's a lot of things like that where I'm very fortunate, but I'm very honest with the brands up front. Like,
Yes.
if I don't think I'm going to use it, I would like to try it for 2
Right.
weeks.
And
Just
that's what I've always said. And it's kind
Yeah.
of shocking sometimes when brands come back and they're like, but this is the contract. I'm like,
Right.
I'm not signing a contract until I try something. I'm not
Right.
going to tell you what I'm going to say on social media before you've even shipped me the product.
Right.
Or I've also had skincare companies, say like, it'll be on your doorstep on Tuesday, the contract, like go live on Wednesday. And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
no.
I tell people
That
that
is not going
that's
to
my
happen.
pet peeve, is when they said,
Yes.
well, when are you going to post? And I said, I haven't even tested it. It
Yeah.
hasn't arrived yet. I cannot give you a date until I actually use it.
Use
And
it.
I
Yeah,
think that, that's kind of a red flag for what is going on in the industry, is that
for
people
sure.
are just taking
Mhm.
without the sampling and the reviewing and whatever. But I do
Yeah.
feel like, I do feel that sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly
Yeah.
works for me, because then people know, if I don't think this is a win, I will tell you this is not for me,
Right.
or
Right.
I will say this did not work for my skin, but maybe if you have whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or same with like the swimwear stuff, which is very popular for me around this time of year.
Yeah.
I tell people, even if you're not the same size as me, I want you to pay attention to the notes I'm making about the fabric, the support, the tailoring, whatever. Because sure, could you find a $20 Amazon suit? Yeah. Is it going to feel or look as good? So I'll go through 20 Amazon suits and pick out 3 that actually work. And then I'll see all the reasons why the other ones don't work,
Yeah.
So
I love that.
I'm at a place now where I'm not afraid to share my opinion tactfully.
Yes.
So I think it works.
Yes, it totally works. 1000%. I mean, like I said, I went down the rabbit hole, and there are very few influencers that I will seek out and go to. And I think when it comes to the household stuff too, especially because we have so much of the same style,
Right.
and, there are lots of fancy things in my house, but there are also dupes, in there. And there's so many times where I'm like, I don't want to spend $400 on a black pot. I want to get the Amazon dupe,
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you
And I
have
think
all
that's
of
what
that.
I remember someone gave me a great compliment one time, because she assumed like I married a base. She said, you're the most relatable rich person I've ever met. And I said, you know what? That's one of the best compliments, because I feel like I am trying to cater to everybody, like in the middle. And I would say, I love working with Walmart so much. Like, I love working with Walmart because everybody shops at Walmart. You have millionaires who shop at Walmart.
Yep.
You have middle America who shop at Walmart, and you have people on financial assistance shopping at Walmart.
Yeah.
So it's so funny, because I just shared last week a pair of like $20 Walmart jean shorts, right? Like,
oh my gosh.
I went shopping for
I saw
groceries.
them.
They're a huge seller right now. Like,
Oh my
I've sold hundreds of pairs of Walmart jean shorts. And what
That's
that's telling me
amazing.
is, and I kind of looked to see, because sometimes you can see who's commenting, I love it, I bought
Yeah.
it, or whatever. There are like D1 coaches' wives buying
Oh
the
my
Walmart
gosh.
jean shorts. I've got friends across everybody, but I think like that makes me happy. You know,
Yes. Yes.
all of the different ways you can style a pair of $20 Walmart jean shorts, whether you're a millionaire or whether you're waiting on like a check to arrive for grocery help, you know.
Yes. I mean, that just feels good. That just
Yes,
feels good.
that's what I'm
Yes.
saying. And that's what I started kind of this pivot. I called it the oh shit pivot in January, where I was just kind of, let me just look at what is working, and what is
Yeah.
working are Target, Walmart, more
Yeah.
budget friendly finds for everybody.
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
think what's happened is the brands have kind of really stepped up and are like,
Huge.
huge,
Huge. Yeah.
huge, like all the collaborations with different influencers, or
Yeah.
you know, all the different things going on. Like the Studio McGee line at Target is
Oh my gosh.
all for home.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like you could outfit an entire home with
Yeah.
that. Well,
Yeah.
and so I just feel like you just have to. My audience is the everyday American who has a good heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's who I like.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't
I
care who
love
you
that.
voted for. I don't talk about politics. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I just
Same.
care that you're a good person. And
Yes.
yeah, that's all I care about. So that's who I you know, speak to.
I love that. I love that. So I'm going to link everything in the show notes below,
Okay.
but tell us your Instagram handle, TikTok handle, and then website and that kind of thing where everybody can find you. Cause I mean, I'm obsessed. I really have to
Oh,
say.
thank you.
Yes.
It's just Jenny Reimold. My ugly last name works for me across the board. So it's just at Jenny, JENNY REIMOLD, mold, Jenny Reimold. And it just works. You know, it's one of those things that it's like, it's a difficult last name, but
Yeah,
no one
same.
else really has it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
difficult, and then I married a difficult last name. I'm like, oh Lord, but it does work. It works
Right.
on all of the social media outlets for sure.
Right. Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for squeezing in. I know my followers are going to be going down the rabbit hole and just finding all kinds of good things you're doing.
All the home dupes and the Walmart jean shorts.
Yes,
But I
yes,
think we talk a lot about parenting and management and all of those things too. You know,
Yeah.
like that's
Yes.
kind of the sidebar stuff, but
Yeah.
the main part are the stories on adoption and finding a purpose and you know,
Yes.
all the stuff that really, you know, works or doesn't work for us as mom. Because as we know,
Yeah.
it's not working for mom, it's not working.
I absolutely agree. I mean, it really is like, happy wife, happy life, happy mom,
Yes.
happy life. I mean,
Right.
you've got to fill your cup and you've got to
Yes.
take that time. And I'm going to try to be eyes closed at 9:30 tonight.
Yes. Yes. Let me know how that goes.
Yes, I will. Jenny,
All
thank
right.
you
Thank you
so
so much.
much for joining us and everything. You can find her in the show notes. And yes, maybe we'll have you back on because there's so many other topics that I want to dig in with you.
I would
But
love to. This is
yes.
great.